Have you ever made a decision in just a few seconds, one that ended up changing your entire life? Sometimes kindness begins with something small. A favor. A simple yes. A moment when you choose to help someone without expecting anything in return. But every now and then, that one small act opens the door to something completely unexpected, something beautiful. And that's exactly what happened the night I went on a blind date that wasn't even meant for me. Before we dive into this story, take a moment to support the channel. If you enjoy heartfelt stories like this, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to tell us where you're watching from. Welcome to Your Channel Name, where we share stories that remind us how powerful kindness can be. Now, let me tell you what happened. It all started on a Friday afternoon. My older brother Jake was pacing around the living room like he was about to give a speech in front of 1,000 people. He kept checking his phone, fixing his hair in the mirror, then sighing loudly. "Dude," I said from the couch, "it's just a date. You're acting like you're going to meet the president." Jake stopped and looked at me. "It's not just a date. It's a blind date. That makes it worse." Apparently, one of Jake's co-workers had set him up with her friend. The co-worker swore she was amazing, kind, funny, and easy to talk to. But Jake hated blind dates. He said they felt awkward and forced. About 10 minutes before he was supposed to leave, he sat down next to me. "Hey. I need a favor." That sentence alone should have warned me. "What kind of favor?" I asked. Jake rubbed the back of his neck. "Can you go in my place?" I stared at him. "You want me to go on your blind date?" "Just this once," he said quickly. "Tell her I got stuck at work or something. Talk for a bit, be polite, and then leave. I'll apologize later." "That's a terrible plan." "I know," he admitted. "But you're better at talking to people than I am." I laughed. "That's not true." "It is. And besides," he added, grinning, "you owe me. Remember when I helped you move last year?" He had a point. After a few seconds of thinking, I sighed and stood up. "Fine. But if this turns into a disaster, I'm blaming you." Jake looked like I had just saved his life. The café where the date was supposed to happen was about 15 minutes away. It was one of those cozy outdoor places with wooden tables, hanging lights, and soft music playing in the background. When I got there, my heart was pounding. I kept thinking about how strange the situation was. Then I saw her. She was sitting at a small table near the garden area, holding a small bouquet of white daisies. She had a warm smile and bright eyes that made the whole place feel lighter. For a moment, I almost forgot why I was there. I walked up slowly. "Hi, are you Emily?" She looked up and smiled. "Yes. And you must be Jake." For a split second, I considered telling her the truth immediately. But I remembered Jake's nervous face earlier, and I didn't want to embarrass him. So I simply nodded and sat down. Emily started talking right away, like we had known each other for years. She told me about her job at a small community center where she helped organize activities for kids and elderly people. She talked about volunteering at a local shelter and how she loved making people feel less alone. There was something incredibly genuine about her. She didn't brag about the good things she did. She talked about them like they were just normal parts of life. At one point, a waiter accidentally dropped a tray nearby, making a loud crash. Everyone in the cafe turned to look. But Emily was the only person who stood up and helped him pick up the fallen utensils. "It's okay," she said kindly to the embarrassed waiter. "We all have those days." The way she said it, it wasn't dramatic. It was simple, sincere kindness. And honestly, it caught me off guard. When she returned to the table, she laughed softly. "Sorry about that. I can't help it. I hate seeing people feel bad." For the next hour, we talked about everything. Movies, childhood memories, favorite foods, road trips, even embarrassing stories. At some point I realized something strange. I wasn't pretending anymore. I was just being myself. And she seemed to genuinely enjoy the conversation. But eventually, guilt started creeping in. She thought she was on a date with Jake, not me. So I took a deep breath. "Emily," I said carefully, "there's something I should probably tell you." She tilted her head curiously. "What is it?" "My name isn't Jake." She blinked in surprise. "What?" "My brother Jake was supposed to come tonight," I explained. "But he got nervous and asked me to take his place, just to make sure you weren't left waiting." For a few seconds, she just stared at me. And honestly, I expected her to be angry. But then something unexpected happened. She started laughing. Not a small chuckle, a real laugh. "That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard," she said. "I'm really sorry," I said quickly. "You had every right to know." Emily leaned back in her chair, still smiling. "Well, at least now I know why you seemed so confused when I mentioned his coworker earlier." "I feel terrible," I admitted. She shook her head. "Actually, I'm glad you came." That surprised me. "You are?" "Yeah," she said softly. "Because you were honest. And because you listened." She looked at the daisies in her hand. "I brought these because I thought a blind date might be awkward," she explained. "Flowers make things feel less tense." Then she handed them to me. "For your kindness," she said. I didn't know what to say. Before leaving, she stood up and looked at me with a playful smile. "Next time," she said, "maybe you can come as yourself." Then she paused for a moment and asked something that stayed with me long after that night. "Will we meet again next time?" I stood there, holding the daisies, feeling like the entire evening had been some kind of dream. "Yes," I said finally. "I'd like that." When I got home, Jake was waiting in the living room. "So?" he asked immediately. "How bad was it?" I placed the daisies on the table. "Well," I said, smiling, "you missed meeting one of the kindest people I've ever known." He frowned. "What do you mean?" I told him everything. By the end of the story, Jake shook his head. "I can't believe you stole my date." "I didn't steal anything," I said. "You gave it away." A week later, Emily and I met again. This time, there were no lies, no pretending, and no nervous brother sending someone in his place. Just two people sitting across from each other, talking, laughing, and realizing that sometimes life surprises you in the best ways. And it all started with something simple. A small act of kindness. Because here's the truth. Kindness doesn't always look like grand gestures or heroic moments. Sometimes it's showing up for someone else. Sometimes it's listening. Sometimes it's being honest when it would be easier not to be. That night taught me something important. You never know how one small act of kindness can change someone's day, or even your own life. So if there's one thing I hope you take from this story, it's this. Be kind whenever you can. Help someone when they need it. Show compassion even in small moments. Because the world needs more kindness, and you never know where it might lead. And who knows? Your next act of kindness might just lead to a story worth telling. Thanks for watching, and remember, kindness always finds its way back to you.